Thank you very much. We're going to take a question from Terry Shepard.
Okay, first of all, I realize I'm not very good at this because I don't see anybody shaking their head in agreement when they hear something but me. So I'm trying to be still. But when I hear something I like, I go, yeah, I like that. So I heard words that I've heard for 30 years here. The word equity. Of course, equity to one group means something totally different to another group. In past years, what equity has meant is that I don't get what I need unless the Caucasian community has what they need. There's no leveling of the playing field. I can't get what I need unless they get what they need. Now, in my case, obviously, I'm here as a proponent of the STEM school. I truly believe that a school in the Fifth Ward is something that the city owes to the Black students of Evanston, the families of Evanston. We wouldn't have integrated schools if it weren't for those Black kids that get on the bus every day, rain, sleet, or snow. But always, when it comes to us, we have to wait. Now, what can you do to assure me and other African Americans who may feel like me that we don't have to wait until you get everything you want for us to get what we need? Anybody?
Who would like to take that one first? Angela, why don't you take that?
Sure. No, I appreciate the candor, and I think it's a really, I mean, your historical view is very interesting. I think when you look at the school and you combine it with the budget as is, as Joey said, the only way to get a new school is to close at least one or two other schools. So that's the decision point, right? Can you redistrict and close? And then I think the other thing is, you really do need buy-in from the whole community. That's why the 2012 referendum or 2011 referendum didn't work. And so how do you get buy-in, particularly from the communities that will be losing what they view as diversity in those schools, right, that I think they've valued? And it is a little bit complicated. I think that one thing is you have to be really careful with the schools you close, right? If you decide to close a school that's either benefiting from that diversity or what the perceived diversity is, or you're closing a school that is primarily an all-white school where the parents will really rally against it, then you've kind of created more probably drama and resistance to what you're getting. And so I do wonder, I know that, I think one big, not so secret thing is that the STEM school might not be something that District 65 gets off the ground immediately. Maybe there's a partnership, maybe there's private funding. We saw what happened with the Y recently, where Mackenzie Scott provided the massive grant for residential development. So there is a ton of private money flooding into causes like this. So I think you have to be really realistic. And that's not to say that it can't happen, but when you look at the budget as a whole, it feels to me that it's probably something that's either going to take a dramatic change in the near, call it 12 months, or it's just going to get pushed to the end, right? Pushed to the next referendum, pushed to the next sort of balancing the budget. That's my honest take.
Okay, well, I appreciate your honest take, but just listening to some of your comments in the beginning of the show where you're talking about white people are ready, it sounds to me like you're saying, well, no, they're really not, because they're going to have to give up something, which is what I led off in my question.
Right.
If I can go, I'd like to ask Katie Voorhees a question, because she's from Orrington. And Orrington is a school that over the past 10, 15 years has been one of the schools mentioned that may need to be closed. Katie, if you're on the school board and your children are at Orrington, how can I be sure that you could represent all of the children in the district and just not those those from Orrington?
Thank you for asking me. I think it's extremely important to be thinking about all children in the district. You know, I think all of us that are interested in joining the board, it's not about our own specific children. We're interested in raising everyone up. So I think that, you know, as far as closing Orrington specifically, I think that there have to be some studies done, and you have to know, you know, what's the birth rate in the area? Like, how many kids are, you know, going to be coming into that area? What are you going to do with those kids, like logistically? I love the idea of making the Fifth Ward School a STEM magnet school, and I think that there would be a lot of buy-in from Orrington parents. You know, if it's this amazing educational experience, and I think that already, I actually have heard a lot of parents in my neighborhood be very supportive of such a school. I think, you know, you would have to think about, where would the Orrington kids go? Would they then, you know, they don't get a neighborhood school. I don't think anyone should have a neighborhood school taken away from them. I think everyone should, you know, get their neighborhood school. And I mean, that's the whole point. Like, it was a disaster to take away the Fifth Ward School, and I wouldn't want history to repeat itself in a negative way. However, if it needed to happen, I think that we could have difficult conversations with Orrington parents specifically, and specifically if they could have a chance to go to this STEM school, I think there would be a lot of buy-in from the community.
May I say something?
May I please say something?
Is that Terry?
No, that's Marquise and Indona.
Marquise, go ahead.
I would like to just make a comment on Angela said that they would be losing diversity in their schools. If we opened a school in the Fifth Ward, it would be losing diversity in other schools. Well, the Fifth Ward is diverse in its own. And what the Fifth Ward has lost, because I am a resident of the Fifth Ward, not currently, but that's where I grew up for a majority of my life. And what we've lost in our community, aside from the diversity, is the brotherhood that comes with having a community school, the sense of responsibility. There's so many things that we've had to give up in order to my children had to get up an hour early to go to a school that was across town. By the time they got home, to get home on a bus and do homework, now they're all tired. They can't even focus on what they're supposed to do. So diversity, and someone losing diversity in another school, and the Fifth Ward children gaining all of the things that we've lost for many, many years. I think that's one thing that Evanston can afford to lose. With gaining the confidence and the brotherhood, and just when we had drum and bugle corps in the Fifth Ward, when my mother and my father were in drum and bugle corps, and the reason that the crime rate was down in the community was because they came together. That they gave them a sense of togetherness. So, and then, you know, Katie, to have a difficult conversation with the Orrington parents. We have a difficult conversation with our children every year that you can't go to school here. You have to go to school where people don't look like you. You have to go to school where people don't understand you. They deem you to be out of control. You need medication to stay calm. When all it is really is that you're just tired because you had to get up an hour early to go to school. So I think that to prioritize the needs of students, I have four children, and all of my children are not the same. But what I do know is the specific needs of my children, and I prioritize them based on the need of that child. So when all of our children they're all different. However, it is very important that all of our children feel included, and I know for a fact that those children do not feel included when they have to go to these schools all around their community, and they don't even have a sense of responsibility. because they can't leave their door and walk across the street to their school. They have to learn that. And once we don't learn that, and we don't learn that in a timely manner, and we learn that from people that don't look like us, then they think that we're bad, and they up and put us in jail because we haven't learned it to the best of our ability, because we haven't been taught by people that look like us. So I think that to prioritize the needs of every child and to prioritize the needs of children is the good thing of a good parent, and that would be the responsible thing coming from a district that has to make these difficult decisions.
May I speak?
Go ahead, Nadona, sorry.
Okay. So I was just I want to speak about the Fifth Ward School in two different aspects. So one, I do agree that it would be healthier to have a school in the Fifth Ward because of the community aspect that she mentioned. I too was in Drum and Bugle with Bo Price, but I also think it's because the adults were a lot more strict back then. Things have changed, but that is needed. I do believe also that the desegregation of schools unfortunately did destroy many of the Black communities throughout the United States, including the school here, the community here in Evanston. Diversity is good, but not at the detriment of one community to help another. Secondly, in regards to, the necessity, I do believe that it's something that's necessary. I also do believe a little bit differently from some of my cohorts, because I do have a background in finance. I am aware that just like the city was able to create bonds to create Robert Crown, the same thing can be done for Fifth Ward School. The credit rating for the city of Evanston is quite high. Municipal bonds can be issued. Money can be created and paid out over a period of time, just like they did for Robert Crown. So if the city could invest, close to $70 million for Robert Crown, they can do something similar. Well, it doesn't have to be that expensive, but bonds could be issued to create a Fifth Ward School, but there could also be partnerships with private organizations. So I don't believe that there is no money. There might not be any money in hand, but it can be created. Anyone who knows finance knows that it could be created, but it's just a matter of whether or not they want to do it. And I do believe that it's a necessity. I don't want it to be, create a Fifth Ward School and then close Orrington. In my opinion, I don't think that's fair. I believe that both schools should be able to exist, because since we are a city that is often speaking about equity, inclusion, and diversity, we can't just talk about it. We can't, in order to try and even the playing field, decide that we're going to take everything from this one group just to give to the other group. We want to make sure that all of the children are, living in a situation where it's equal. The Black kids, brown kids, yellow kids, white kids. We want them all to be able to have an environment in which they can learn comfortably and welcoming. And I think that if we did have a conversation about closing schools, and that's going to cause even further division within our city. We're currently having tons of conversations where one side is calling everyone on the other side white supremacists. We have other people on another side saying that they don't care about us, and our children and our needs. We have to get away from that. I often say that the Evanston that I grew up in is very different from the one that I moved back into in 2018. And at this point, it's so toxic, the attacks, not only on the board members, but also anyone in the community that has a different opinion are literally being attacked and threatened physical harm. These conversations have to be had, but they cannot be had where we're making, accusatory, comments towards one person or another. We have to all understand that we're all in this for the betterment of our community and for the well-being of our children.
Thank you, Malika.
Thank you, Indona. Thank you. That's time. We're down to 1 minute, and that was a very important topic. I know there's probably a few of you who want to comment on that. Did anyone else want to comment before we close up?
Hi,
You all
I
want
did.
to?
Sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to say one of the biggest things, Terry, your question really resonated with me was just we need to keep Black families in Evanston. You know, we need to not only keep our Black families in Evanston, but we need to bring them back or bring them back more in. I think one of the things that what the board can do and has done was they started the Black Lives Matter curriculum about 3 years ago. And last year, you know, they continued it. And I think that we need to learn this more. I think it needs to be part of our history because the history I learned growing up isn't real. It's just completely biased. And, you know, I think we need to listen to our Black students regularly, not just in times of crisis. It shouldn't get to that point. And we do need more of that teacher-student interaction. I also think we need more social workers. We need to be able to support our Black students in all capacities. And Marquise, I hear you about your children having to be bused there and back, and that time spent is something that they could have been doing either in, you know, their neighborhood school or enrichment, further educating them in an area of their interest, whether it's arts or science or STEM, right? So I think there's definitely things that we can do, and we need to keep our Black families and our Black kids here in Evanston.
Okay. Thank you very much. That is time.
Sorry, can I say one more thing to Marquise? You know, when I talked about difficult conversations, I also, you know, when you were talking, I felt so much anger, and I feel I must represent something really awful to you, and I would want to have a conversation. That's an example of a conversation that I think needs to be had between like someone like myself and you, and I want to understand better, and I would want to further this conversation if you would ever want to get together and talk more.
It was definitely not anger. It was passion from coming from that place and knowing where that is. That resonates in my heart. Everyone has the right to their opinion, and we can all disagree, or, you know, we can all be together and be on the same page. Otherwise, I have no animosity at all with the way that you feel. I just needed you to understand, coming from firsthand experience, this is exactly why I feel like this is the voice that is needed on the district, because this is a clear lens of where this is coming from. And like I said, we can have a conversation. Absolutely. You can have my email. We can talk. I wish we could go out to Starbucks and have coffee, but it's just passion, not anger.
I think
and it is a place of privilege for white people to say, we can take our time with this decision. I think I heard that in your question, Terry. You know,
Right. Thank you.
We're done waiting, and as the white man on the board, I need to make sure that people who are choosing who to vote for know that I understand that privilege, and we need to get it done.
Thank you so much for addressing that, Julie. I appreciate it. And one thing I'd like to say, it's just a very short plug. Obviously, I'm here to support the STEM school in Evanston, but since the killing of George Floyd all over the country in Evanston, we're talking about we need to know one another. Everybody, I'm encouraging to get the ACC in your school, and you'll learn about each other from a historical perspective prior to slavery. That's what's needed in our K through 8 District 65 schools. And if you don't know what it is, I would encourage you, once the schools are open, to go down and take a look at the ACC program at Oakdale Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Terry. And I thank everyone for sticking around. We have gone over, but it's about our children. It's about our youth. So, you know, I'm fine with us going over, but we are going to wrap up. And to Terry's point, yes, I think the ACC program in every school would definitely help, and those conversations won't be so difficult because there will be more of an understanding of who Black people are in the community.
Thank you.
Yes. And
Mhm.
Terry and Erica and Henry and many others on here have helped to get legislation that's actually sitting on Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk right now
That's
for
right.
signing to mandate that all schools in the state of Illinois teach the true history of Black people
Thank you.
prior to
That's right.
slavery.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Mhm.
Yes. So thank you. This has been some great. We didn't even get to everything that we wanted to cover, but this was some good stuff. And I think we learned a lot about each of you just from you all asking each other questions also. And for those of you that didn't get their questions answered, please reach out to these candidates, reach out to them and have a conversation, send your questions to them. And before we close, I want each person to give their contact information for the public out there, because we have people watching on Facebook Live, and then we have people here, and I'm sure they have more questions for you. They want you to elaborate on some of your responses. So if each of you can take a moment to let everyone know where they can contact you.